Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com. What's up YouTube, Dow here from Souffle Games, and today we are bringing, and I'm so sorry Donald, but we're bringing Aiden's first place Madolche deck profile. So we've actually done this at one of our locals. It did insanely well, and he's built it to be a hell of a lot more creative and competitive than usual. Now, obviously, the reason of that is he has invested heavily. We've got stuff like Pot of Prosperities, which kind of increase the consistency of the deck. It is designed to go second a little bit more, but with Madolche's and the brand new cards that they received, I say brand new, they came out in the most recent set, they've actually do very, very well. So I'm going to dive straight into the profile, show you exactly what they've got and what they do, and pretty much just show you what Aiden was playing. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be as in-depth as Donald is with his Madolche profiles, but this is basically just to show you the next level, competitive level of the Madolches itself. So, obviously, we've got triple Madolche Angeli. This one's part of the one-card combos, or one of the two-card combos. Tribute it, get Hoot Cake from the deck, and off you go from there. Now, obviously, I'm not the professional of the Madolches. They're all going to be, obviously, Aiden, and, of course, from Donald as well. So then he's running triple Madolche Mageline alongside triple Madolche Petting Cecil alongside double Hoot Cake. This one was the highest one, but luckily it got reprinted as a gold rare as well. And then we've got double Messengelato with a single Pudding Cess. Now, obviously, it really depends on your personal preference on the way you want to go with this one. This one, they've tried to minimize as many of, like, his Pudding Cess in the hand can be a bit of a brick because it's a little bit more difficult to get out of the hand. But obviously, throughout the combos, you've got to keep in mind that some of the Madolche cards increase levels, lock levels, and when you play a certain part of the Madolches, they do lock you into Madolches. And one of their biggest weaknesses is once they're locked into Madolches, of course, they are very, very susceptible to Nibiru. And that's where Aiden has kind of changed his profile in order to kind of combat that threat of Madolches, Madolches of Nibiru, to work it that way. Then, of course, we've got triple Madolche Salon. Like, I checked this card the other day. It's such a good card when it first came out, but it's like bumped up to like 15 quid a copy. It's absolutely mad. But this one just basically allows you to get an additional normal summon, and then if another Madolche card you control or is in the graveyard is added to your hand or shuffled into the deck, which is what the deck generally does, you're able to set a card, set a Madolche card. So that's going to get you into their next best card, which is Promenade. This card, I think, is absolutely nuts, and we'll get to that when we get there. Then, of course, you've got the one Chateau and the one Madolche ticket, followed by triple Dark Ruler, no more. Now, obviously, with Madolches, you can kind of go with Lightning Storms, which he doesn't currently own, and you can kind of take out the cards that are going to stop you having your battle phase, like Dark Ruler, no more, and, of course, evenly matched. But keep in mind that the best card in the whole all of Madolches, in my opinion, is Queen Tiramisu, because it's non-target, recur graveyard resource, while also spinning back two of your opponent's monsters, non-target, and it's not a hard once per turn. So as long as you make multiple copies of that card, of Queen Tiramisu, you're going to be able to spin multiple copies back. Then, of course, this is the money card right now. There was an extravagance build of the deck, but now with Prosperity, again, it's a very counterproductive in the sense that the deck really wants to OTK, and it can OTK very, very consistently. But when you're playing stuff like Evenly Matched, Dark Rule No More, and Prosperity, what you're basically saying to yourself is, if you go first, you're increasing your consistency of resolving Prosperity because you're not playing a draw card in general. Then if you're going second, the idea behind Prosperity is you're going to try and get into the Dark Rule No More or the Evenly Matched to guarantee you're going to break that board. And then from the point on, when you've got two one-card combos that are pretty much going to allow you to fill up the entire board and then spin your opponent's board back to basis, whether you are using something like Evenly Matched, you can maintain a bit more resource, or if you're using something like Dark Rule No More, no matter what you've turned off, you know 9 out of 10, everything on that board is going back into your opponent's deck. Then, of course, we've got triple Cosmic Cyclone. Now, of course, this will probably be Lightning Storm once he picks those up. I think Cosmic Cyclone is actually a really good alternative right now for Lightning Storm. Obviously, it's not going to do the exact same job. You could probably put in stuff like Harpy's Feather Duster. Arguably, if you're looking on the budget route as well, you can put in Regeki. But with stuff like Eldritch and back row cards that kind of want to bounce, you go with Cosmic Cyclone. The reason Lightning Storm is so good is because it has that all-in-one card of either monsters or back row. So rather than you having to play, in a sense, 3 Raigekis and 3 MSTs, 3 Harpies Feather Dusters, you're technically playing 3 Lightning Storms. So you're cutting down the amount of clog that you need to put into the deck. One Call by the Grave, because you want to make sure that your Puddingcess and, of course, your Petincessor, and your Angeli are as resolve as successful as possible. So with Call by the Grave at 1, you can only play it at 1, and that's what you go for. He's got a lot more of a heavy trap lineup, in my opinion. So triple evenly matched, obviously this is probably mainly it is for going second more so than not. So if you then adapt the build to want to be going more first, you probably take out evenly matches and you'll probably take out Dark Rulers and put in hand traps in general. So that's where you'd put in like Ash Blossoms and Imperms. Then we've got Triple Compulse just as a nice interruption card. I think he's looking to put in Get Outs in this as well, because obviously the Get Outs bounce back 2 monsters from the extra deck specifically, but sometimes when you look back at it, Compulse can actually be just as important if you trigger it on your opponent's normal summon. The only downside again of this card is, unlike Evenly Match, which can be used going, well, more so going second, with Compulse, it's like if you don't get it going first and you don't have enough to control your opponent's board and clear it off with stuff like Dark Room and more, it's not as relevant. But then the idea behind that, and also the idea behind strikes, is that you're able to go, cool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off your board going second, then clear your entire board off, and I've got an additional card to play with. And then from that point on, I can then, through behind my 2 1-card combos, I can set myself up with strikes and compulses to protect. Then we've got the 2 Promenade. You won't... It's very rare that you actually resolve 2 of them. The idea is you go first, you set 1, and then you interrupt during your opponent's turn, because this can pretty much... It's an imperm that turns off any of your opponent's cards, which is really cool. So you can turn off Lightning Storms, turn off Heavy Dusters, anything like that. And you can also put in like Madolche Knights as well. But then the idea is that after you've triggered that, one of your Madolches is going to trigger as long as you've got Salon on the board, and Salon will then allow you to set the next one. And then that just means that during your turn, if your opponent has anything that could interrupt you as you're trying to complete the OTK or the spin back, you can trigger the second Promenade. 3 you definitely don't need. And then we've got the 1 Gravedigger's Trap Pile. Now this is literally just to protect from Nibiru. So when you're going into games 2s and 3s, once your opponent knows you're playing Madolches, I almost 100% guarantee you they will put Nibirus in if they have them in their side deck, because it's the one card that Madolche really can't protect against on a consistent basis. Now I believe it's a 2-card combo, and I'll need to check with Aiden the exact cards that are needed for this, but a 2-card combo still allows you to get, not full combo, it allows you to get to a very decent Madolche combo while you also have a Trap Shit Refleezer on the board, which is going to protect you from Gravediggers, protect you from Nibiru with Gravediggers, and even if it's not through Nibiru that you're protecting yourself from, you can also trigger it to protect through one of your opponent activating a card from the hand or anything like that, and burn them additional 2,000, which just makes your Madolche job to OTK a lot easier and a lot more consistent. This is again something that I wouldn't say it's massively contradictory, but when you're looking at stuff like Imperms, and then you've got Evenly Matches, you've got Gravedigger's Trap Hole, and you've got Dark Waters No Mores, those are kind of the cards that you could look at and go, right, well, ideally what I could do is, I don't think I'm going to be worrying about Nibiru's game 1, so I can easily side this out and side it in game 2. And then that's where you've got a space for a bit of a hand trap. You can do the same for strikes or compulses, depending on what you want to go, because I think at this moment in time, this deck's got a bit of a balance of, you're playing like 3 or 6 traps you ideally want to be using going first, and then you've got about 3 or 6 cards that you ideally want to be using going second, that aren't really great on the other way around. So for example, if you don't open up your 1-card combo but you open up strikes and compulses, going second, that's not going to do a lot for you. Going first is a bit of a different story. If you're going first and you open up Dark Rulers and Evenly Matches, they're not going to do anything for you without your 1-card combo. So you need to kind of choose the designation. I would personally go more the way that Aiden is playing it, and go more for going second. And that's where I'd probably cut the Compulse down to 2, maybe Strike down to 2, and then take out or side out the Gravedigger's Trap Pile. And that's where I'd at least put Ash Blossoms in, just so that if I'm going second, I have ways of interrupting my opponent during their turn to make sure that the board I'm facing, even though I'm playing Board Breakers and Evenly and Dark Royal No More, even though I've got those cards, if I don't open them, I still want as much chance as possible to leave my opponent on the weakest possible end board in order to get the OTK or to get the board clearance and then control out of the way and, you know, give you a successful win. Then moving on to the extra deck, because it's Prosperity, like some of the ratios for the Madolches are maxed out, apart from Fresh Sister, but then by allowing them not to be maxed out, he does also play a couple of other little staple cards, which are really, really nice. So we've got triple Glass Souffle. I really like this card. I think every time Donald's played it against me, I'm like, God damn, this card is annoying if you're trying to play a graveyard deck because it spins the cards from the graveyard back into the deck. And it's also annoying if you're trying to destroy one of their cards because Glass Youth, they can just go, you know what, I'm going to make it unaffected by card effects. So it can also protect under Nibiru as well. Triple of the best card, Queen Tiramisu. Like, I personally think this card's amazing. So yes, if it's generic link, if it was generic rank 4, it'd be broken as hell. But just 2 level 4 Madolche monsters. Once per turn, detach material from this card. Target 2 Madolche cards in your graveyard. Then you get to shuffle those cards into the deck, and after that, shuffle cards your opponent controls into the deck up to the number of Madolche cards returned. So literally non-target, double shuffle back. What more do you need? And then we've got triple Pudding-Sesh Chocolate mode. This is obviously the boss monster from the extra deck because with the field spells in play, it becomes a 3k, and she gives you the ability to, again, not a hard once per turn, constantly start putting cards on top of the Tiramisu, special summon from the deck, anything like that, and you're just constantly pumping out more monsters. And this is why I think Madolche is probably one of the best rogue decks because they just have a very nice balance for all of the metas. And if you look back since they got the new support with Promenade and Salon, they've actually been a consistent feature as a rogue and underdog deck. Then, of course, you've got the one Tractor from Fleesia and the one big bad boy Zeus. The reason Zeus is kind of good is if you can get into your Pudding-Sesh without locking yourself into Madolches, you can technically end up having like 4 materials on your Zeus. So you'd have the 2 materials under Queen Tiramisu, the chocolate mode on top of that, and your Zeus. So you do your spin, but you can do the spin back with Tiramisu. You can then do the summon off of chocolate mode, and then you go into Zeus, and Zeus is going to send everything. Now, it's not the staple card you need to have, but it is a very good option should you have access to it. And then, of course, you've got the 2 Sistars, and then we've got the 1 Phoenix and the 1 Boral Sword. Now, these can obviously, depending on how much money you want to put back into it, these can be unicorns, they can be IPs, they can be access codes. You do just have to keep in mind that when you trigger Pet Incessor's effect, you are locking yourself into Madolches. So it locks you into Madolches for the rest of the turn. So the idea is you want to be able to build up into anything else, ideally Tractor for Fleesia, before that point, and then go from there. And Zeus is pretty much a later game grind where you might have burnt out some of your resource, you've made your XYZ, you've done your damage, and then you make Zeus after that point. But again, it's very rare you should need them. They are just alternative options should you have them. And that is it. Very straightforward and simple, very to the point. Again, well done to Aiden on this one. It's a very interesting version. It's always nice to see an alternative version. I think Donald played it a very particular way, in a good way. But it's just nice to kind of see the variations and alternative options. And depending on which route you want to go, whether you're a fan favourite of Madolche and you want to try and keep it pure, or you want to play a pure go second build, if you want to try and text like D-Shifter, I think a very cool text as well. And I think that's the one area that the main deck is lacking, is that it hasn't kind of found its identity of going first or second and kind of focusing on having the correct hand traps in play in order to get what you need. So that's my only feedback to Aiden is try and find a way of putting hand traps in here without increasing the deck size. And there are a couple of the little areas that you can probably cut a couple of cards off to do that. Other than that, did really well. He ended up facing Dragon Link, Thunder Chaos, Prank Kids, and I believe he also ended up facing Orcust as well. So he did very well with them. Obviously, they're all not top dog meta, but it is still kind of good to see a deck like this do really, really well as well. But as absolutely always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and of course subscribe so you do not miss out on any more of the upcoming content we have for you. With all that out of the way, as absolutely always, guys, stay safe and happy dueling. Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com.